Hey everyone, today I've got a 2020 Nissan Pathfinder. This is another three-row family crossover. The Pathfinder was last fully redesigned for the 2013 model year, so it's starting to get a little bit old. This particular model is an SV Rock Creek edition. That Rock Creek branding really just consists of some badges and stick-on plastic bits and embroideries. Really not a compelling reason to choose the Pathfinder over any other vehicle, but it's something that's kind of kept this vehicle fresh 8 years now since its last redesign. So let's do a little tour of the Pathfinder here inside and out, and then I'll share with you some of my thoughts. So despite this thing now being an 8-year-old design, I really don't mind the exterior. Granted, I preferred the Pathfinder when it was a body-on-frame, off-road capable SUV, not this raised up station wagon that it is now in its current form. Well, they did update it slightly a few years back. They gave it a little bit more squared off styling with regard to the grille and the headlights, and it did improve it a little bit, and I really don't mind it. That's not my main area of criticism of this vehicle. Like I said, this is a Rock Creek edition, which doesn't really do anything for me. That Rock Creek package consists of this silver painted piece of plastic here that's meant to look like a skid plate. You get unique wheels, no changes to the tires or anything like that. Then you have this plastic wheel arch trim, Rock Creek badging, more wheel arch trim, and then I'm not sure if the rear bumper changes at all. I want to say that it doesn't. While we're back here though, it's worth noting that this thing has a 2-inch receiver hitch. Towing capacity on the Pathfinder really isn't bad. I'm not sure what it is off the top of my head. I'll put it up on the screen there. You've got a 7-pin connector too, so that's something that sets this vehicle apart a little bit. Not all three-row SUVs offer that kind of a towing setup. Moving on, Rock Creek also has black door handles, black mirror caps. You get 2 crossbars up there. One thing you'll note, way in which this vehicle shows its age is its use of a button right here for the passive keyless entry. So I have the key in my pocket, I'm able to lock and unlock the vehicle. But a lot of vehicles just use touch sensors now. This one still uses this button, which I don't know if you can see the wiggle there. But given that this is an area of the vehicle that you interact with every time you drive it, it's kind of a bummer to have such a low quality part right there. It just kind of doesn't give you a great first impression as you hop behind the wheel of the Pathfinder, as I will now do. So now that we're inside here, you can see the ways in which this vehicle is really starting to feel dated. If you look around here, you'll notice that this is all Nissan's design language from the late 2000s, early 2010s. They've evolved a little bit recently with the introduction of the new Altima and the new Sentra and the new Versa, and their new design language is really quite charming. This older design language just feels dated, though, at this point. Materials quality isn't bad. This is slightly soft touch. You get this kind of fake braided carbon fiber look right here. Hard plastic, but not harsh hard plastic, but hard plastic, hard plastic, hard plastic, hard plastic. You get the gist there. Steering wheel feels a little bit dated as well. I'll go ahead and turn it on. Again, push button start button there feels really dated. You do get a little screen in the gauge cluster. There's your infotainment screen. Not the biggest in the world, but not the smallest. Here's a look at the window sticker. So you'll see that this is a Pathfinder SV 4-wheel drive. The SV trim is one up from the bottom. With the Pathfinder, I think you've got S, or a base model, SV, SL, and then Platinum. So this is the second out of the 4 available trim levels. Sticker on this thing is $40,000. Here's your fuel economy: 20 city, 27 highway, 22 combined. Under the hood, you've got a 3.5 liter V6, makes 284 horsepower and 259 pounds-feet of torque. That is mated to Nissan's continuously variable automatic transmission. I'm not a huge fan of CVTs, and I think Nissan's unit, while it's gotten a little bit better over the years, is kind of the poster child for everything that's wrong with the CVT. They include that kind of transmission to get better fuel economy, which I don't know that they're really achieving that right there with those figures, but that's at least the idea. Moving on, infotainment system isn't bad. I haven't had a chance to play with it too much. Let's look at, here's where you control it. You do have this nice chunky dial right here. It's not a volume knob, but rather kind of a tuning dial. So you've got, okay, so it is a touch screen. You can enter a point of interest there. Radio controls are down here. So while the information from the radio is still delivered to you from the screen here, controls are down here, separate from the navigation controls. Beneath that, you've got your HVAC controls, and then right here, you'll notice that this model has heated seats, but it uses these super old school controls. So like last night, my passenger had the heated seat turned on. So just a few moments ago, as I was driving along, I realized that that heated seat was still turned on, so I had to reach over and turn it off. That's kind of what you get with these rocker switch style controls. Gear shift for the CVT is where you would expect it to be. No plus minus manual shifting for the CVT because, well, it doesn't have gears like a regular automatic. Back here are your four-wheel drive controls. So you can see that this thing defaults to two-wheel drive. You can flip it into automatic four-wheel drive, and then you can lock, sorry, I should say all-wheel drive, because while it says four-wheel drive there, it's really just a crossover with all-wheel drive system. And then you can lock all-wheel drive on right there. There's also a hill descent control switch, so you press that, you get that little orange light flashing on the gauge cluster there. Not much to see right there. One clever thing I don't mind here is that they label the lids for the center console storage box upper and lower. So generally you have to kind of guess or memorize which switch opens just the upper lid and then which switch opens both the top and, well, middle lids. So it's kind of clever that they label them there. While we're at it, another thing I like about the Pathfinder and about Nissan is that they include USB-C. That's this little port right here. So that's your regular old USB-A port. That's what we've all been using for the past 12 or so years. And then USB-C is what is becoming the new standard. So having that in your vehicle is going to help your vehicle to feel new for longer, and you'll be able to use your USB-C cables, which you're going to start using universally soon anyway. You'll be able to carry those over into your vehicle and use them here as well. On that note, two more USB ports, although they're both USB-A ports back here. You've still got an SD card for your maps there, and then an audio in and video in port. That's kind of interesting. Huh. No rear seat entertainment in this thing, so I'm not sure what you would do with that right there. Anyway, kind of interesting. I think that about covers the front. Let's hop in the second row. Okay, we're in the Pathfinder's second row now, and I should mention that the Rock Creek edition comes with a few things on the interior as well. You get that Rock Creek embroidered into the floor mat down there, and then this upholstery. It's grayish fabric with orange stitching. But now that we're in the back seat, you can see there's a fair amount of room. I'm about 5'11". I've got the seat where I would have it if I were driving, and I've got plenty of knee space. Not a lot of clearance for the toes under the front seats there. That would get a little bit annoying. That kind of contributes to some feelings of claustrophobia back here. The rear floor is almost flat. There's a slight hump right here, not too bad. You can see that this second row seat slides forward and backward, and I imagine that's to create more space for the third row passengers. We'll get to that in a second. Some HVAC controls back here. Keep in mind this is a mid-tier trim level, and another little bonus back here is you get a USB-A and a USB-C port. See what's in the armrest here. Okay, so cup holders, little storage tray. You've got one overhead light for each of the outboard second row passengers. Grab handles, pretty much the same materials used on the back doors as are on the front. You'll notice that this one does not have a sunroof, but I'm pretty sure a panoramic sunroof is available. Let's check out the cargo area in the third row now. It would appear that the child locks are on. There we go. Okay, so this one does not have a power tailgate, which I really don't mind. Power release, but not a full-on power tailgate. That's fine with me. So here are your third row seats. You can see there's a fair amount of space behind the third row. I'll pull up one of the seats here. So, I like that too. It's easy to just pull it up manually. You don't have to wait for power controls or anything. Okay, so not the smallest third row. That's nice to see. And like I said, the second row can slide forward. I'll attempt to climb into this third row seat. Okay. So, all right, not great. Really no knee room, and you can see I can't really get my feet flat because of the lack of knee room. But if you were to slide that second row seat up an inch or two, I could tolerate it back here for maybe 45 minutes to an hour. Not bad. For a kid, this would be totally acceptable. All right, let's try to get out. Okay, not so bad. Not so bad at all back there. Like I said, manual rear lift gate. I don't mind that one bit. Just grab it, slam it shut, and move on. All right, now I'm driving the Pathfinder because everyone's dying to know about the driving dynamics of a three-row Nissan SUV. So right off the bat, a couple things about this vehicle. You've got full-time two-wheel drive, that's front-wheel drive, and then you need to flip it into auto mode if you want to enable all-wheel drive, and then there's also a mode to put it into locked-on all-wheel drive, so to speak. So keep in mind, we are in front-wheel drive right now. That's the Pathfinder's default setting. It's a 3.5 liter V6 that makes 284 horsepower, so not so bad. So one thing that I don't love about the Pathfinder, and frankly most modern Nissans, is that continuously variable automatic transmission. Like I said, they've gotten better over the years, but they're still just, to me, unnecessarily breathy. Like they take a minute to kind of wind up. The revs can get really high in certain situations. They don't really do anything for the driving experience of the vehicle. But the thing is, in 2020, not a lot of buyers really care about driving dynamics, especially for a vehicle like this. This is meant to be a family vehicle. I think most Pathfinder buyers would trade better fuel economy for that CVT. I think that's a fair trade-off for most people. But what some automakers, a lot of automakers actually, like Toyota and Honda, are doing is developing geared transmissions that can still get fuel economy that's as good as or better than the Pathfinder. So, you know, I think it's a matter of innovation. I think the CVT is kind of a lazy approach to getting better fuel economy out of a vehicle, especially when that CVT takes away from the driving experience like it does in the Pathfinder. Beyond that, three-row family crossover. Obviously not a sports car. I don't know that handling is at the forefront of most buyers' minds when they go out to purchase a family crossover. Hopefully you're going to get a pretty sizable sum taken off the sticker price by the dealership, given that this is Nissan. They're known for doing that, and the Pathfinder is pretty old by modern standards. I think within the last 2 years there were 5 all-new three-row family crossovers to debut in this segment, so there's really not a need to buy a vehicle this old in this segment unless you're getting a really good deal on it from the dealership. So there's your look at the 2020 Nissan Pathfinder. The three-row SUV segment is extremely competitive, so it's hard to be forgiving of a vehicle that is a little bit behind the curve, a little bit dated, given that there are so many new, modern, really forward-looking options in this segment, like the Toyota Highlander, Kia Telluride, Hyundai Palisade. Those three right there are far and above leaders in the segment. And then even though the Honda Pilot hasn't been redesigned in a few years now, it's still one of the best vehicles in this segment. Nissan especially in recent years, has kind of become known for offering a product that's slightly inferior, but in turn, it's priced lower, and that's in terms of it has a lower sticker price, and the dealerships have been known to offer steep financial incentives on most Nissan products in recent years. So while that's not really great for the brand, for the consumer, it means that if you need a 3-row family crossover and you're on a tight budget, the Pathfinder might be a good option. Just keep in mind that you're not going to get the most modern features, nor are you going to get the most modern design. So I think that about sums up the Pathfinder. In this segment, there are other vehicles that I would look at first, like 5 or 6 or 8 probably, if I were to really count. But like I said, Pathfinder is kind of the value budget oriented option.